Hey everybody, welcome. This is two EdTech guys take questions and share cool stuff. We have cool stuff to share with you, as we always do, and are excited about that. Before we move from this very first slide, shout out to friend of the webinar, Pat Hensley, who actually knitted the gnomes that we got going here. So very, very cool stuff, Pat. I did the captions. Awesome. We want to thank you for joining us once or twice a month. And this is the only time in November we will be doing this. So style points for you for joining us. We just get together, we take questions, share cool stuff, pretty much exactly what you think. So a little bit about who we are. Richard, tell us about Free Tech for Teachers.
Free Tech for Teachers turns 14 this year. Actually, this month, turns 14 this month. And I've written 16,000 blog posts about all manner of educational and technology tools over the years. Everything from kind of oddball Linux stuff to mainstream Google workspace things and everything in between over the years. Check it out.
Rock and roll. My little shindig attempt to save the world is Next Vista for Learning. It's an online library of videos by and for teachers and students everywhere. Free to use, free to contribute to, free to download from, all for a student audience, all screen content. And I hope you will give it a look. Nextvista.org. We got all kinds of stuff going on there. We've got videos about academic topics, so kids and teachers explaining different things in some creative way. We got videos about communities, about service to others, careers, all sorts of little things we have going there. A huge group of videos for those learning English as well. So you know that's available. Speaking of so you know, today is November the 11th. Which of course includes Veterans Day here in the United States. Thank you to all veterans out there. This is Singles Day in China, 11/11, 11/11, right? Singles Day. Oh. And it's a really, really big deal. Apparently it has become the number one online shopping day of the year in China. I'd explain that, but I can't. All right, today Leonardo DiCaprio was born. So there you go, he's a year older, as are we all. And then this is also the birthday of Maria Teresa de Filippis, who was an Italian race car driver. And for a woman born in 1926 to become a race car driver, you just got to say, you know, that's another level of cool. So if you were wondering about women Italian race car drivers, screenshot this now so you can find out more about it. All right, how does this work? Well, we take questions, we share cool stuff. Richard, let's get it going. Start with our first question for today.
First, we gotta say it's Remembrance Day in Canada and also known as Armistice Day in many parts of the world.
Good man.
Let's throw that in there. All right, so our first question of the day came from Orit, who asked us about an app or a website for administering quizzes that use a paragraph format to fill in the text or fill in the blanks, fill in the gaps, if you will, but in a paragraph and not just a single sentence. I have three things that I suggested besides the usual suspects that Orit had already tried, Google Forms, EdForms, and Wiser. I suggested Lumio, LUM.io. TeacherMade will also has that capability. And if you're looking for something for the younger crowd, let's say the grades 3 through 6, maybe grades 2 through 5, TinyTap. TinyTap is a service you can use to create your own iPad games or iPad activities, I should say. So you can check that out. Has that option for fill in the gaps or fill in the blanks as well.
Cool. And Richard, you'll add those to the chat as well, right?
Of course.
Good man. I'll also add to the chat formative. So formative has been around for a while. It for reasons that don't need a lot of explaining, it blossomed mightily last year. And one of the things about formative is it's a system that does a really good job of allowing the teacher to take the different answers that have come in via the different things that the students do with their quizzes and all, and to look at them in a more organized fashion than you do with Google Classroom. So if you're grading things in Google Classroom's grading shell, you have to go from thing to thing to thing rather than being able to look at all of the answers for one particular question at once. And you can do that in formative. So I would say give formative a look.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Yeah, I'd say the cool thing about formative is you could upload an entire PDF and then build the questions into the PDF and like just have gaps in your PDF to have the questions be like, right in there. But anyway, that's cool. Next question came from Charlie, who wrote, I have a question. I want to be able to translate my class discussions into Spanish in real time and project that to a small group of students in my music class that do not speak English. Is that possible? Is there an app? So when I first read this, I read it as he was talking to the whole class, but he might have been saying, I should follow up with Charlie, he might have been saying the kids were talking to each other. But either way, the online version of PowerPoint will translate and caption in real time. So you can set in the online version of PowerPoint, so the web version, you can set it so that it subtitles, and you say that I speak English, and you can have the subtitles appear in the language of your choice, including Spanish, Icelandic, German, French. There's like 30 something languages that it supports. So you can do that. And even if you weren't doing a PowerPoint presentation per se, you could just put up a blank slide and just use that built-in translation piece. Right? And I actually discovered that by accident a couple of years ago at a conference. Before I was going up to give a keynote, I was just talking to someone kind of off stage, but we didn't realize the microphone was sensitive enough to pick up our conversation and start to subtitle it on the screen for people.
Great moments in bad timing is what that is.
Fortunately, we didn't say anything that shouldn't have been on the screen.
Excellent, excellent. Charlie's question is interesting. I am a former language teacher, so I'm happy to geek out over a question like Charlie's about translations. So, is there an app for this thing? And my answer was like, yes-ish and no, right? So the yes-ish is right where Richard talks about, like the online PowerPoint is certainly one way. I've seen people hack this with Google Translate, and slides as well. But I would add this, right? That the automatic translation of language is not the universal translator of Star Trek lore, right? What we have so far is something that does a pretty good job based on a number of assumptions. Some of those things include things like, okay, are you speaking in simple sentences? So it's one thing to say, do you speak English? It's another thing to say, we are hoping that, among the varieties of English possibilities for the people who will be involved in discussions, such as the one that we're having right now. Like what long sentences make it harder and harder for automatic translations to do any justice. Additionally, there's a big difference when talking to these systems between talking like you normally talk, which might be like this, and talking like this, where you articulate a little more and slow down a bit. That actually helps those systems a lot as well. So there's a certain amount of training yourself to use these systems effectively. So we'll add that as an extra little thought on that question.
Yeah. Next one.
Next
what do you
one.
think?
Yes.
Right.
Matter of fact, I'll take that one since I'm the one who sends these, right? This is from Ken. How are you personalizing the email that I see with my name? If you have any tips for this, I would love to implement them for my musical call to action. Sounds cool, Ken. I think musical calls to action are what the world needs more of. So there is the answer to your question, and then there are tools that do what you are asking. So one of the tools that will do what you're asking is yet another mail merge, right? Which I think is actually quite a cool little dude there. I'll get the link in the chat right there. And then you can do that with the Google tools, in terms of having an email address and a name and have it, you can set things up so that it creates these kind of templates that go out. That said, my process for doing this is actually copy paste and then put people's names in. And while that may seem horribly like Luddite, given the kind of show this is, it also allows me to kind of just see where people are connecting from and to put their name in properly, just in case there was extra spaces or whatever. So the answer to your question is I do it the long way, but I'd recommend yet another mail merge as a tool for doing something like it. Now, Richard, I'm guessing, has some more thoughts on this matter.
Yeah, so I got a bunch of questions like Ken's after my newsletter 2 weeks ago went out. Shameless plug, if you haven't gotten it, there it is. Because my newsletter 2 weeks ago was all about writing communication to mostly to parents, but also to students, and some tips on making sure you get responses and feedbacks, responses in the feedback that you're looking for. One of the things that I suggested was personalizing it. And the way that I do that with my mailing list is I use a tool called Convertkit, convertkit.com. You can have up to 1,000 emails in your database for free. I have a lot more than that, so I pay a lot more than free for my use of it. It costs me about $2,500 a year to use it for the size of my mailing list, but I've got 25,000 people on my mailing list, so it's a little different. But that said, it lets me insert first names that are associated with email addresses. So when someone signs up for my newsletter, I ask them to put in their first name and their email address. Now, if they don't put in their first name, or they put in their first name and it's like Mr. Universe, my email will always address them as Mr. Universe.
Right. That's special.
All right. So if you want to be called Mr. Universe or, Queen of the World every time I email you, put that in your subscription, in the subscription. But that's how I do it. I use Convertkit. Convertkit does a lot of other really interesting things, like track open rates and how often people open the email. It will also allow you to resend it to the people who didn't open it within a certain amount of time. So I can set it so that if after 5 days a person has not opened the email, it'll automatically resend it to them, which is really useful for important stuff like, let's say field trip permission slips that have to be in, right? Right. If a parent hasn't opened the email for 2 weeks, it'll just keep resending it until they finally open it.
Awesome. Matter of fact, I would call that cool. Speaking of cool, tell us about this.
Oh, so this is cool because next week, for those who are not aware, is Geography Awareness Week, which is my favorite academic week of the year. I look forward to it. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. I love maps. That's why I love it. And so this is a cool interactive map of UNESCO World Heritage Sites, and it's hosted by UNESCO. In fact, if you click on the link, Rushton, it'll bring it up for everybody to tinker with, and they can play with it. And you can filter it. You can filter it down by location. You can filter it by the year in which it became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. States, regions, categories. Why is it a UNESCO World Heritage Site? Is it cultural, natural? But what's really cool, you click on one of the dots, one of the place marks on the map, and you can get more information about that place, including looking at a little gallery of pictures and in some cases videos of that place. And since we were talking about languages earlier, it's available in a variety of languages, including English, French, Arabic, Chinese, Russian, Spanish, Japanese, and Dutch.
Awesome. Just called for a woohoo for maps from the audience, by the way, just to see if we're holding the interest of the people who have joined us today. But also, it's just maps are fun, right? Maps are a heck of an opportunity for kids to start asking really good questions without everything coming down to do you know the right answer, right?
Right.
Cool. So my quick share, my little cool addition to this one. As longtime watchers of the webinar might know, I love finding really interesting videos. And in this case, this is the official launch video for the Jetson 1. Now, those of you who are of a certain age, that easily includes myself, remember the cartoon, the Jetsons. And a few years ago, I see some thumbs up in the group. Very cool. This thing is it's like this little personal helicopter, right? and it's a pretty cool video. It's got a very Dune quality, you know, to the video, but really good fun to watch. And it looks like something that's kind of a cross between a motorcycle and a helicopter. And like a lot of videos like this, make sure to read the comments that are under the video on the YouTube page, because they include things, you know, like the video finishes with "everyone is a pilot," right? And like one of the comments was, "Jetson, everyone is a pilot. My wallet, except you." So that kind of thing is kind of fun to catch that stuff out there. And Judith says, "Now I've got the Jetson song in my head." Hang in there, Judith. This week, for the Next Vista Inspiring Video prompt situation that we launched this fall, the video story is about a guy who started a thing called mountain boarding, and it is actually really fun to watch these guys on these mountain boards and talking about how this became a thing. And so the prompt is really about how do you tweak little things you like in order to create something new. And the idea is that becomes something available for discussions and for writing prompts and stuff like that. So feel free to give that a look. I'll get both of these last two links in the chat in the next few moments. Richard, get us to the next question.
All right, I'll get you away from Meet George Jetson and his boy Elroy. All right, so let's take a look at, this question here. What platform do you use for your online courses? This is a quick one from Stephanie. For my online courses, I use a WordPress plugin called Learn Dash. It's not free. It costs about $200 a year to license it. But what it does is it allows you to build into your existing WordPress website self-paced courses that have a lot of different modules in them. You can do time gates on them. You can set prerequisites so that people have to complete the first module before they do the next module. You do things like that. You can say that each module is only available for 1 week. You can do all kinds of things like that. That I don't really take advantage of all the features that are available, but that's some of the stuff I do with Convertkit. But you can do very similar things with other services. You could get a Canvas account. You can get your own Canvas account. You don't have to go through your school to get a Canvas account, and you could create a course that way. You can do it for free. Actually, you can do it in Canvas. You could go the route of using something like Teachable, which is also not free, and if you do the math, it will actually cost you more than licensing LearnDash. But it's technically a lot easier to do. Or you could even try using Google Classroom. You don't have the downside to Google Classroom is you don't have any automation features, right? You can schedule things to appear later, but if someone starts your class 3 weeks from now and someone starts it today, the person who starts it 3 weeks from now is going to see everything. They're not going to be sequenced correctly, right? So those are some options there. Let's get into one of the other questions though. And this one came from, sorry, where is it? Oh, Samantha. Rushton, you want to handle this one?
So
it's a long one.
It's a really long one. And it's about online protection. All right. So you know, there are these different laws out there about, okay, you know, what data can a company go after, right, use with regard to how students use these, and so different states have begun putting together different pieces that say, okay, well, we require this, we require this, we require this. So we got a question about the Illinois SOPA law, SOPPA, which generated a thing from the questioner saying that the district the district can't use like Jamboard and, you know, and some other things, and it's a long and involved conversation that developed as a result of it. One summary statement on this, because we could just go on and on and on, and it's really a get in the weeds kind of thing, is when you have people in your district talking about, we're not allowed to use this for privacy reasons. Ask them where online they're getting that information, right? Because sometimes it's a function of, yes, that's exactly right. I think in the Illinois case, that there are certain things that the companies are supposed to sign off on in order for those to be whitelisted by the districts or whatever. But it's not always clear, right? So it might be that your team in the IT department is just not wanting to deal with that particular tool, and there is a problem in a number of places of effectively principals ceding academic authority to the IT department. So, one thing that is important to know is that teachers and school leaders, it is your job to go to IT and say, we intend to use this. I welcome your opinion on why maybe we shouldn't, but the decision's mine, right? And so you put that out there. That's a message for school leaders more than it is for teachers, perhaps. But when you are having questions like this, go to your state organization, like the ISTE affiliate for your state, like IDEA, Illinois Digital Educators Alliance, CUE in California. There are loads and loads of wonderful organizations out there that can help you answer those questions. So yeah, it was there's about 50 things going on in this question.
Yeah, and we may turn this into an entire episode because I got a question similar to it a few weeks ago that I didn't even include in our list of questions about how do I get companies to sign off on this statement for my district? And I was like, you don't, because somebody wanted to whitelist my website for their school district, which I'm all for, but they wanted me to sign off on this like 17-page legal agreement about all data privacy and I'm like, I'm not signing that. As an individual person who runs a small blog, I do not have the legal team to comply with one district's request. Just like, and it kind of stifles creativity because I have a friend, some of you have heard me mention him before, Russell Tarr, who runs classtools.net, and he gets those. He's a history teacher who has this fun website with some cool tools on it, and he gets those all the time. It's like, it's just him. It's just him. There's no big legal department who's going to review all these things that you want him to sign, and he just says, well, then your school can't use it because I'm not signing this thing that you have a legal team reviewing that I don't have a legal team reviewing. Yeah,
Richard, really, I believe that if I describe my own business as one in which you are now looking at all of the full-time employees of the business, that would describe your business as well, right?
That's right. Well, I got a dog over here. My guard dog works full-time.
Paid?
Dog food, biscuits.
Excellent. All right, well, that works. So at any rate, right, like that's the thing. And so your argument has to work this way. Is the thing that is part of some small organization, some small company, the kind of thing that really does have a value for your students, and you can articulate that? When we're talking about tech generally, like that's your challenge. This is good for learning for these reasons. And when you can do that, if it is the case in your district, in your state, whatever, that they're only doing these things that do require like a legal team to sign off on, then your students are deprived of tools that would be available to other students for which that extra layer of bureaucracy is not there. Granted, they are working to protect kids and they may be doing it very well with their systems, but it may just be another level of bureaucracy. It's hard to know. So your job is always know how to explain the educational value of the tools you want to use. And when they do have questions about things like data gathering and privacy, you may need to contact these folks and ask them. Like when people contact me about this, I'm like, hey, we don't have a sign-in, we don't have ads, there's nothing grabbing info from you at all. And so either they take my word for it or they don't. And it's true that that's the case, but still, right? So there you go.
Yeah.
Do we have time for one more question? I'll bet we do.
Let's do an easy one easier one to wrap it up. This one came from Lori. She was wondering if we could recommend a textbook for online readers, we do not have access to our textbooks due to their age. I do have access to a bookstore, but I don't really care for it. It's rather difficult to navigate. I'm assuming she means an online bookstore. So, yeah, I don't know what age you're looking for, but depending on the age and the topic, OpenStax, STAX, OpenStax, which was started by Rice University, has a lot of open textbooks that you can find. Again, more for high school level and higher. CK12 Flex Books is also an option. Again, depending on the topic, but that's, as the name implies, that's more for a K-12 audience. So check out CK12 textbooks. Rushton, you had a pretty good idea too.
Yeah, actually, but I'll first second the recommendation of CK12. I really like that organization. They have been around for a long time, trying to build, really quality things for districts that just can't afford books, right? So they were thinking about like rural India and stuff like that. And so they've done a lot of cool things. I also, in looking at the question, was wondering, well, they may not be talking strictly about textbooks, so what if you're looking just for books to read or novels, things like that. And archive.org has a load of material, like over 33 million books in lots of languages, right, that you can work with. So that's the kind of thing we're taking a good look at as well. Richard, make sure you add the two recommendations to the chat there. I'm getting those in our links page as well. But wow, guys, almost a half hour is flipped by pretty quickly. Richard, you look like you got one more thought there, though.
No, I don't have my glasses on, so I'm doing weird things with my eyes. That's all.
You're doing a fine job, and we're all proud. All right, so those of you who are still with us, always a good thing. Feel free to check out my monthly newsletter, and you could win a Starbucks card. We got lots of freebies in there, so things you might want to watch or read or try, and then word about the different projects we do. I've written some books. Feel free to give those a look. There's plenty in there that can help you make your school a better place for you and your students. And then there is this gem that Richard has out, which he updates annually, I believe.
Yeah, the Practical EdTech Handbook, 75 pages of my favorite EdTech tools, tips, and strategies. Check it out. It's free. Just head to my newsletter webpage and you can get a copy of it. Or you can check out my YouTube channel where I make videos about all kinds of EdTech tools. And you can tweet at me, send me an email. You can look at Rushton's other quick share for some other time. That's there.
Yeah. I want to just kind of toss like another thing in there for the Improve the World project. So this is kids around the world like sharing ideas about how to make the world a better place. And we're going to get these ideas in front of service clubs around the world to launch these projects if the clubs are excited to do so based on the quality of the idea. If you're like, what? That's interesting, then just let me know. Guys, we have come to the end of another episode of Two EdTech Guys Take Questions and Share Cool Stuff. And hopefully we got to your question. If we did not, feel free to toss it in the chat. Once we finish the recording, we will keep talking to you because we're nice like that. And I hope that over the course of the next few days, you have a chance to share some of this with others, that you're getting set up for a nice Thanksgiving, those of you in the United States, and that you will have a wonderful, wonderfully inspiring moment with students in your classes in the coming days. So with that, we remind you that our next shindig is the first week of December. So it should be Thursday, the 2nd of December. So watch for us then. Take care.